Do I have everybody's attention now?
Welcome into the Mic'd Up Pro Wrestling Podcast. We are titling this episode Interim, because I am sick and tired of seeing interim champions. I'm sick and tired of seeing interim champions, so that's the title of this episode, Interim. So yeah, it's been a fun week. It's been a fun week in wrestling. There's obviously a lot of stuff going on this episode. I do plan to cover AEW Dynamite. We're going to talk about Raw and a little bit of Smackdown, which the past couple weeks I haven't really touched much on Smackdown, but I did get some notes for Smackdown this week, so that'll be towards the later end of the show. But right now we're going to talk about something that I'm super excited about. I am very pumped, and that is AEW Fight Forever. This game doesn't have a release date yet, but there's an event going on over in the UK and Europe called Gamescom. Gamescon? One or the other. Gamescon. And they are releasing gameplay footage, and if you're there at the event, you are able to play the game live, which is pretty awesome. And a lot of footage is coming out that I'm able to see. And AEW themselves, they've put out like this full match where it's got Colt Cabana and Evil Uno. They're over there representing AEW for this event. And they played a full match that showcased Adam Cole versus Kenny Omega. And I thought the game looked great. I thought the movements looked great. They even said on the broadcast that it's still being polished. Like, what you're seeing isn't the complete final product, which is great. The graphics, I've seen some people complain about the graphics online, but I'm totally fine with it. I think the game is serviceable. It looks great. Some people fail to understand the budget that WWE has for their 2K series, and they can put a lot of money into a lot of graphical powers, and they have a larger development team working on that game. To my understanding, AEW, Ukes, THQ, they don't have as large of a team working on this game, and I'm totally fine with that, because what I'm seeing looks fine. Looks very similar to No Mercy. If y'all are familiar with the holy grail of wrestling games, WWF No Mercy, back on the Nintendo 64. That's an old one. That's an old one. So this game is looking very reminiscent of that. They showed the controls on screen. It's looking very reminiscent of that. With you hit the button for a light strike. You hold it down for a hard strike. Same with the grapples. Light tap for a light grapple, hard hold for, and then just the taunting to use your finisher. Like, it feels very No Mercy. It looks very No Mercy. But I hope, one of the things I'm really hoping is they've been able to age that program up a little bit, because I remember a couple of years ago when I played No Mercy, I played it at a vintage game night, or it might have been WrestleMania 2000. It was one of the others, but they played virtually the same. And the game was fun, don't get me wrong, but it did feel a little dated, just gameplay-wise. So I'm hoping they've been able to mature this program and mature this gameplay style to a point where it feels new. It doesn't feel too stale. One thing I didn't particularly like in the showcase that they showed was the entrances. I like the entrances. It's kind of fun to see. But the entrances that they showed in the game were very short. They were shortened entrances where, it plays the theme song, obviously, but it literally just shows the guy walking out of the tunnel, and then it teleports them to they're already in the ring, and it's a shortened entrance. And I'm not sure exactly how I feel about that. maybe from a content creator side, that'll be fine. Maybe those shortened entrances won't hit us when it comes to copyright strikes when we're playing the game live on stream, which I do plan to do right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/lucidendeavors. We do plan to live stream this game when it comes out, and I am super happy about it. There's still no solid release date. On this game, which is worrying me a little bit, but they're slowly getting this game out. So just take your time with it, make it polished, make it look good, do what y'all got to do, and we'll be happy when it comes. I'm hoping now that we have a cover art, we have an official name, we have gameplay footage out there, I'm hoping the next step is an official roster reveal, because AEW has a plethora of people that they could put into this game. I've already seen some footage on TikTok and on Twitter of people playing the game at Gamescom, and they're playing as CM Punk, they're playing as The Big Show, Paul White, more matches with Adam Cole and Kenny Omega. I've seen Britt Baker. I think I saw Sheeta, but I don't know. There was another one in there. I couldn't remember. I'm definitely excited for that game, and I want to see a roster reveal. Yeah. It's great to have another wrestling game option. I know Retro Romania is out there, Fire Pro is out there, but in terms of like the big companies, WWE 2K is all we've really had, and we never know what we're gonna get from them. 2K22 was good. Don't get me wrong, it was a great game. We streamed it right here. I played through the the Rey Mysterio Showcase mode. That was really fun. I enjoyed that, but I definitely think competition is good, and I'm excited to see what they put out. But like I said, the roster, they could pull so many people. Like, I'm hoping that they support this game for a while and just continue to add it with DLC rosters. I really hope they do. I think they could have some themed DLC packs. Obviously, with Tony Khan owning Ring of Honor and Ring of Honor being a big part of AEW television, I wouldn't mind seeing a Ring of Honor DLC pack that maybe includes Claudio and the Ring of Honor Championship. Maybe you put Wheeler Yuta in that package. Maybe you could throw Jay Lethal, you could throw Samoa Joe, have people purchase that, and boom, you have the Ring of Honor pack. Maybe it comes with like a Ring of Honor arena. I think that would be really dope. I think they could have a Forbidden Door pack. A Forbidden Door DLC pack would be really awesome. Where maybe they get some deal, maybe some New Japan guys that they're willing to allow be in this video game. I think that'd be pretty awesome. Imagine having Okada and freaking Suzuki and some of the New Japan stars be featured in this AEW Fight Forever game. I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. You could have Jay White, you could have some Bullet Club representation. Forbidden Door, I mean, hell, maybe they can get some Impact people in here. I mean, Impact's got to be willing to play ball. I mean, it could be good exposure for them as a brand. Like, I think the Forbidden Door is wide open. And just because the pay-per-view is come and gone, it doesn't mean that the door is closed, which we'll get into more later on when we talk about Dynamite. So, it's just interesting, and I'm very excited to see where AEW goes with this game. But before we move on to Dynamite, I do want to get one side note. Something I noticed, literally, more news did just come out the other day, or yesterday/today. But hello, Colton. But one more side note from Gamescom about AEW is AEW has a ring set up at Gamescom, and they're actually going to have AEW's first official matches on European land, on European soil. They're not going to happen at Dynamite. They're not going to happen at a pay-per-view. They're going to happen at Gamescom, which I think is pretty phenomenal. It's happening as of this recording. I think it's either already happened or it's happening today as of this recording. But they're going to have two matches over there, which I think is really dope. They're going to be official AEW matches with Christopher Daniels taking on Evil Uno and Colt Cabana taking on Angelico, which is pretty cool. That was a pretty cool thing to see online, that it's like, wow, that's kind of historic for AEW as a brand to have their first official matches on European land take place over there at this convention, which I was like, that's really dope. That's really cool to me. And one person I saw online, and a couple people I've seen online, was, well, what about Pac? You know, Pac is the AEW All-Atlantic Champion, and he has defended the title overseas. But those matches were not contested in an AEW ring. They were at Revolution Pro, and I think of a couple other indies, and they were not against another AEW signed wrestler. So yes, it was an official AEW title defense, but it wasn't an official AEW match, if that makes sense. I understand there's a bit of a gray area there, but I like it. I kind of dig it. So we're rolling with it. But I just think that's a funny side note on Gamescom before we move on to Dynamite itself. But that's still pretty dope. But yeah, as for Dynamite itself, Dynamite had a really, really special week. And it wasn't like this fancy, they do a lot of these AEW themed shows, like Clash at the Beach or whatever it is. They do the Road Rager or Fighter Fest or whatever. They do these like themed shows. This wasn't a themed show. It was just your regular, typical Wednesday Night Dynamite. And it felt like a special show. Excuse me, gotta stay hydrated. Because it's just, we're building up to All Out, which is feeling like AEW's WrestleMania. But I don't know if they have an official, like, biggest match of the year, biggest event of the year. I don't know if they do have one. They just have all of their shows feel really big and important, which I guess that's a good thing to have. But at some point, I need to figure out which show is your, like, coup de grace, your top show, your big thing. It could be All Out. In my opinion, it should be All Out. But they are doing a really good job building up to the pay-per-view, where I'm excited about it. I'm very, very excited about it. And I obviously didn't have the podcast up at the time, but when it came to Forbidden Door, I was excited about it, but it wasn't like I was super pumped about it. It was just like, okay, this is going to be a cool show. And then obviously Dynamites and Rampages were just okay. But All Out really feels like the first AEW pay-per-view that I've been like super pumped about. And this Dynamite here did a lot of storytelling and a lot of building towards this event. I mean, they kicked off the show with a promo, which was nice. And it was continuing the Daniel Garcia storyline from last week. And I thought it was really good. Like, I love this idea of Daniel Garcia, where, he was a heel, he's a bad guy, whatever, snotty-nosed guy. And he's with Jericho and the Jericho Appreciation Society. So he's in the ring with his mentor, the person who's got him under his wing. And he's torn between his mentor and his hero, and Bryan Danielson, who he had a phenomenal match with last week, and Jericho kind of stole that moment from him. So I like this storyline. It feels really natural. It feels like a really natural progression of this storyline. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel, manufactured. It feels very organic. It feels like a very natural storyline, and that is great. The crowd is behind him, which makes this story even more believable. I absolutely love the chants of, you're a wrestler. Like, you're a wrestler! I absolutely love those chants, and you can see the character work in the ring, where Daniel Garcia is hearing those chants, and he's allowing it to affect his character. And I kind of hope they capitalize on that. I think they have something here with Daniel Garcia, who could be a future star in this company. And like we talked about the pillars before, but like, you got to have your foundation to hold up those pillars. And I think Daniel Garcia can be one of those people that lay the foundation for this company going forward for the next 10, 20 years. He's still a really, really young guy. And I just like it. I really hope. My biggest concern is they're going to take the cheap heat route, because they see the crowd is really behind him. So they're just going to have him stay with Jericho, be a bad guy, get those boos. And that's going to be really, really annoying if they do that. I would be really annoyed by that, because I feel like when you have an organic storyline that's laying itself out really good, it's okay to tell that story. You don't need to do the cheap heat. You don't need to do the twist for the sake of being a twist. Like, it doesn't need to happen. Just let it happen organically. Let him build this star. Let it happen. Build stars for the future. You cannot rely on these veterans. Look what happened to the WWE. They relied on all these old people that people just got sick of it. And I feel like AEW is smarter than that, and hopefully they won't do that. And I liked how that segment between Jericho and Garcia, it literally just bled right into Bryan Danielson coming out, and now we have Jericho versus Danielson at the pay-per-view. Which I wasn't 100% for, and I'm still not 100% for, but for the sake of the bigger storyline here, I'm okay with it. It just looks like we're going to have Jericho and Danielson with Garcia on a pole match or something here, which, I mean, that's not really what's happening, but that's how it feels, and it's kind of comical to me. But I'm looking forward to it. I think there's going to be some screwery. I'm sure Daniel Garcia is going to be outside at ringside for that match or something. But I'm really interested to see how that plays out, and not just for the match, but for the story. This is a great situation where you have a story that is more important than the match, and I like that. Am I not for it because I dislike Jericho? Yes and no. Yes and no. I'm more dislike it for the use of Bryan Danielson. I more dislike it for the use of Bryan Danielson. It's not how I would want to use him. I would want him more focused in other things, but we've seen it. My thing is, Bryan Danielson is on borrowed time. Let's be real. He's on borrowed time. A lot of these guys are, and I feel like we've seen Daniel Bryan versus Chris Jericho before. And I don't really need to see that again. I really don't. I would be more excited to see Bryan Danielson versus newer, fresher talents, like fresher matchups. Give me freaking Danielson. Give me Danielson versus Malachi Black, if that's a possibility. You know, give me something that I can sink my teeth into with Bryan here. Jericho, I'm not a huge Jericho fan. I've never been a huge Chris Jericho fan. I don't hate him. I don't completely hate him, but I'm not really invested in him right now. I don't really care about his storyline. I'm not that terribly invested in him, but I'm interested to see the bigger story here. I'm interested to see more so what they do with Garcia as opposed to the match itself. Yeah, he's not for me. And moving on, like we had a phenomenal match, and this is a match that if you haven't seen it, I definitely think you should go out of your way to see it. And this was Dax Hardwood versus Jay Lethal. Just what some people would consider a throwaway TV match. You know, like, okay, cool, we got this tag team guy against this other guy, and there's this weird storyline that not a lot of people care about. But Dax Hardwood and Jay Lethal had a phenomenal match. Absolutely phenomenal match. And like I said, Dax Hardwood is a tag team wrestler. He's part of FTR. They have all the tag team titles. But each time Dax Hardwood is in a singles match, the dude shines. The dude does phenomenally well, and he impresses me each time. Like, the guy can go on his own, and you know, if he chooses to be a singles wrestler and not do the tag team thing anymore, I think he'd be just fine. But I just love the clash of styles, with Dax Hardwood being the more traditional wrestler, quote unquote, and Jay Lethal being the more high flyer, kind of moving around kind of guy, and it just worked. You know, you had Dax Hardwood here, obviously hugely influenced by Bret Hart. Then you had Jay Lethal, who hugely influenced by Ric Flair and Macho Man Randy Savage. Just these two going at it, and you could kind of see shades of that within the match as they were trading submissions. Like, Dax was trying to get that sharpshooter in, and Lethal was trying to get the figure four, and you could see them going back and forth with this, and I just thought it was a great match. And yeah, it ended with the cheap heel roll up, Jay Lethal grabbed the tights, but I think it was fine. Like, even Dax Hardwood kind of smiling about it after the match, like, yeah, you got me there. You got me there. Like, I think that's fine. And it led into a bigger announcement, which is something we alluded to earlier about the Forbidden Door. That door ain't closed, because now we have the announcement of the Motor City Machine Guns, the tag team from Impact Wrestling, are going to be teaming up with Jay Lethal at All Out to take on Wardlow and FTR. And now you have a trios match that I didn't care about, I'll be honest. I did not care about seeing FTR and Wardlow versus Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Singh. I didn't care about that. But now, you've got the Motor City Machine Guns and Jay Lethal versus FTR and Wardlow, and now I'm interested. You got me. So, that's great. That is good. Good on them. Good on them for pulling that off. I absolutely love that. And you have my full attention now. All Out is a special show to me because I don't see a filler match on the card. I don't see a filler match on the card. If I had to pick a filler match, it would probably be Christian and Jungle Boy, because I'm not super invested into that storyline personally, but they're telling a good story. I'm just personally not into it. But I don't really see a filler match on this show. It literally just seems like banger after banger after banger. And speaking of bangers, now we have a fatal 4-way for the women's championship. And this is literally the title of the show is the Interim. We're titling this episode Interim because I'm so sick of seeing interim championships. You know, and especially on AEW television, because they did this with the Ring of Honor Women's Championship. Don't forget they did that when they did the Interim Women's Championship. And then they had the unification match. Whoop-de-doo. And then we literally, on this same show, had the Interim World Heavyweight Championship against the world, the unification match, which we'll get to. But now, Thunder Rosa is having to step away for injury. And now we have to have a fatal 4-way to determine the interim women's champion. I don't like that concept. It's being overused. It's being overused in my opinion. Same with the this is a different topic, but the championship eliminator matches that AEW likes to have, I don't like those. I don't like this idea that you have this championship eliminator match where you're a guy who's obviously not going to win against the champion, who's obviously not going to lose, but this guy has to beat the champion. You have to beat the champion in order to earn a title shot against the champion. I don't like that concept. I don't like that concept at all. I'd rather you just give me a number one contender. Boom. That's the guy who challenges for the championship. I don't like these whole, well, if you beat the champion, then you got to beat him again. Like, I don't like that. But that's a totally different topic. We're talking about interim championships. If someone's injured and they cannot defend their title, they should relinquish it. They should relinquish it. Let them come back. Let them come back and challenge for the championship as soon as they come back. That's totally fine. But when you give someone an interim championship, and I like how they played this in the Moxley storyline, because he hated the title of being interim, but it lessens the champion. It lessens it. And it makes me not care. It makes me not care as much. You know? So we're going to have a fatal 4-way for the interim Women's World Championship, the temporary Women's World Champion. And I'm okay with it. I mean, we've got Jamie Hayter, we got Toni Storm, we got Britt Baker, and we got Shida. It's going to be a good match. It's going to be a good match. I'm nervous they're going to put the title back on Baker. I hope they don't yet. I don't think she should have it back yet. Give her some time away from the championship. She had it far long enough. The shocking win would be Hayter. If Jamie Hayter wins, that would be the shocking victory. The most likely winner is going to be Toni Storm. I could see them putting the title on Toni Storm for a little while. But me, personally, I'd love to see Shida win. I love Hikaru Shida, and I think she's a phenomenal talent. I think she's a phenomenal person, and I would love to see her win, although I do think Toni Storm is probably going to win the match. I think Shida, she held the women's title for a great time before, but she really didn't get a chance to shine with that title, if that makes sense. Like, she was the champion, but she wasn't the focal point of the division while she was champion. I thought that was kind of a disservice to her. So I would love to see her have another run with the championship and actually give it some steam. And I think that'd be great. I hate it for Thunder Rosa. You know, I hate it for Thunder Rosa for having to step away for whatever injury it is. I don't know if they discussed what it was or not. I've seen some people talk about there's some backstage politics in play, but I don't care about that. I'm only talking about what I see on the television. I'm not really going into the dirt sheets and all that crap. I don't care. But I'm interested to see the direction they go. It's weird. It's weird to me that I'm more interested in this Fatal 4-Way championship match than I have been in any of the previous championship matches. That kind of sucks, but that's just the way it is. Yeah. Yeah, that is a positive. The interim champion gets a spotlight, but it's a tainted title run, in my opinion. It's a tainted title run. Yes, you get the spotlight, but it's like the company's telling you, hey, you're good enough to hold the title temporarily. And that bothers me. That rubs me the wrong way. It's like if in retail, if somebody said, hey, you're gonna be the store manager for a little while, and then we're gonna bring somebody else in. The real store manager is gonna come in. I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like that. And I like that I can kind of relate that to a real world thing. And that's kind of what bothers me about the interim championship thing. It just rubs me the wrong way, and I'm sure you could understand it. Yo, what's up, King? Do I wrestle myself? Me? No. I've been a wrestling fan since I was a child. My girlfriend Bree Chu, you've seen her before. She has wrestled. She's a professional wrestling referee. She's a former women's champion on the indie circuit. Like, she's a phenomenal talent herself. I've been behind the scenes, and I've been stuff like that. But I have not personally wrestled myself. It was something I wanted to do when I was younger, but my body said no, and I just was like, you know what? This is one of those circumstances where I'm okay just being a fan. I'm totally okay with just being a fan. But it is nice to know some of the intricacies of professional wrestling. I think it's really fun. I feel like when I watch professional wrestling, I might notice some things that maybe a casual fan wouldn't notice. Even if it's something simple, like a referee taking too long to get to a count, or a spot that seems like it's taking too long to develop, or, it's interesting to see some of these things. And I can enjoy it as a fan and also see a little bit more. Yeah. I can flip and bump pretty well. Yeah, I had my day. Clifton. I'm a little old now. I did get to be a ref once. That is true. Bree, I did get to be a referee one time. So that was fun. That we could say that I had that highlight of my life there. I got to be a referee one time, and that was fun. But let's see, what else happened on AEW? We had more building with Stokely Hathaway and his group. I really like the faction that he's building with Lee Moriarty, Ethan Page, and now he's getting the ass boys of Billy Gunn's kids. I think that'll be really interesting. I'm curious to see where that goes. When it comes to the tag team titles, it seems like they're gonna have the Acclaimed versus Keith Lee and Swerve, who I love. I absolutely love them as tag team champions. Although I want to see them have a feud that is a bit credible. One of the issues I'm having with Swerve and Keith Lee's tag team title run is there hasn't really been a feud or a storyline. It's kind of just been, hey, we're defending the titles, hey, we're defending the titles, hey, we're defending the titles, but there's not really been much of a story around it, so that's kind of me nitpicking, but I do like them as champions. I'm afraid they're going to lose the titles to the Acclaimed. Thank you for the lurk. I'm afraid they're going to lose the titles to the Acclaimed, so that way the Acclaimed can then feud with the Ass Boys over the title, so I feel like they're going to be victims to a storyline here, and that kind of sucks. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that that doesn't happen. Fingers crossed, guys. Fingers crossed. But we'll see. We'll see. And now it's time to talk about the not main event. The not main event. And that was the unification match for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. And it wasn't the main event. It was not the main event last night. So it was an odd feeling. Like, me and Bree, we were still at the store. I was like, yeah, we got time. We got time to finish our shopping and get home so I can watch the main event World Championship match. No, I had to watch this match on my phone in line because it happened an hour before I thought it was going to happen. And that was interesting, but it just felt like something was wrong here. There may be a bigger story. Thank you for the biddy. There may be a bigger story here when it comes to CM Punk and Jon Moxley and everything surrounding the AEW World Championship. But I'm not here to talk about dirt sheets. I'm not here to talk about what's happening behind the scenes. I'm only going to talk about what I saw on television. And that was CM Punk tried a kick. He twisted his heel. We got to see a CM Punk heel turn. We got to see a heel turn. Twisted his heel. And then Jon Moxley just completely mauled him. Which I loved that. He didn't let that moment breathe. He didn't be like, "Oh, you okay, buddy?" No. Jon Moxley's a freaking animal, and he mauled him. Like the elbow strikes, freaking paradigm shift, 1, 2, 3, I'm the champion, out, deuces. Like, I absolutely loved it. And Jon Moxley deserved it. I absolutely loved it. With everything he had to go through in his personal life to get to where he is now, super happy for him, and I think he deserves it. When he was AEW champion before, we were in the middle of a pandemic. Everything was shut down. He didn't really have a great title run in front of an audience. And I'm super happy that he is now the official world champion. He is now officially the first ever 2-time champion in AEW history. Officially. And I think he deserved it. And he cut a passionate promo backstage. I thought it was great. I think it's great. Let's just keep him going. I'm very curious to see where this goes when it comes to All Out. Sometimes anticlimactic is fine. Sometimes anticlimactic is fine. Because I think they're telling a bigger story here, which is probably going to lead into All Out. So I'm curious to see what happens there. But when it comes to Jon Moxley, like when they made the Blackpool Combat Club, I know a lot of people, myself included, were concerned that this group was created to give Moxley and Bryan something to do, keep them out of the main picture, and they were going to take a back seat. And that has not been the case. The Blackpool Combat Club has been phenomenal, and they're just collecting championships right now. I mean, they have 2 world titles right now. 2. They have the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. They also have the Ring of Honor World Championship with Claudio. And not to mention Wheeler Yuta. Yuta has the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. So this is a group of champions here. There's some credibility here in this young faction that they have built. And if this is a group that's going to continue, let's say long term, it could be a year, it could be a couple of years. They're building some credibility here, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see where the overall storyline goes when it comes to the Combat Club here. So I'm excited for it. It's just exciting to be a wrestling fan right now, and it's just great. It's just absolute, which leads me into Ricky Starks, who I just think Ricky Starks is absolute. If you get it, you get it. What a great guy Ricky Starks is. Another foundation, similar to Daniel Garcia, another member of that foundation for AEW in the future. That promo he cut was great. If you like professional wrestling promos, if you like passionate professional wrestling promos, watch that promo. I thought it was great. I thought it was phenomenal. He hit all the points. His facials were good. Like, oh my goodness. That got me pumped for that match. Powerhouse Hobbs, he's a big dude. Ricky Starks is a tiny dude. So you would immediately think Will Hobbs is going to just destroy Ricky Starks. But that promo was passionate, man. And that got me wanting to see that match. That got me wanting to see that match. And I think it was it was placed very well on the show because it was right after the world title match. They had a few backstage promos, and then they had that promo, and then it led into our main event, which I'm okay with. The Trios title match, not the Trios tournament match for the titles. I thought that was great. Do I think they should have ended the show with the World Championship? Yes, but you couldn't have had the shock finish if you had it at the end of the show. So, with that in mind, I'm fine with where it was. I'm fine with how it happened. And the main event was awesome. I thought the main event was really good. You had Death Triangle versus Will Ospreay and Aussie Open, and I thought it was great. It's another example of the Forbidden Door pay-per-view is over, but the Forbidden Door ain't closed because you have this group from New Japan Pro Wrestling that are in this tournament for these Trios World titles, and I think that's great. I think the match itself was a human car crash. There were bodies everywhere. It was spot after spot after spot. It was an indie-rific match, in my opinion. I thought it was just balls to the walls, completely nuts, and it was great. I would love to see a 30-minute match with Rey Fenix and Will Ospreay. Give me that. Give me that. Hell, I'll even take a singles match with Pac. Give me Pac and Will Ospreay. But I'm more interested in seeing Rey Fenix and Will Ospreay. That would just give me 30 minutes. And I'll sit there and watch the whole damn thing. Probably twice. I thought it was great. And with this match, something I really loved about this match is not only did they continue the story of the Trios tournament, they also told another story with the All-Atlantic Championship, which was great. So you had Kip Sabian. If you're not familiar with Kip Sabian, he was one of the AEW originals, one of the people who was in the very first AEW match. And then he got injured, and then he kind of went away. And he's been doing this gimmick where he sits in the crowd with a box on his head. And it just says, like, underrated, underused. It says a bunch of stuff like that. But he's just been chilling. Homie's just been chilling in the crowd. And he's been committed to this gimmick for, like, over a year. And it's been great. And everybody's just been wondering, well, when's he going to do something? When's he going to do something? Like, this has to lead to something, right? And it finally did, where he attacked Pac. Pretty much cost them the match for the trios titles. And now it looks like we're going to get our first official feud for the All-Atlantic Championship since the title has been introduced. Yes, he's defended the title on AEW Dark in some random matches. That's fine. But this singles title that they've introduced has barely been focused on Dynamite and on Rampage even. It hasn't had an official feud for this championship. And it looks like we're finally getting one here with Kip Sabian. And that excites me. That makes me really happy. That just seems like there's so many interweaving threads on AEW television, and I like it. I like it. I like that all these storylines, they feel separate, but they also feel connected. It feels like everything is tying together really well. I've been more excited for an AEW pay-per-view than I have been probably since it started. And that's great. That is great. It's such a great time to be a professional wrestling fan. And AEW, I'm liking what they're doing. I don't know what you guys are thinking about AEW. Feel free to comment here. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, on the VOD, feel free to leave some comments on the video. Let me know what you guys are thinking about AEW's current product and AEW Fight Forever, which is a game I do plan to stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Lucid Endeavors. So I look forward to playing that game. I look forward to talking more AEW. I look forward to seeing more. So yeah, I'm excited. That's the AEW segment of this show.